I know you come as. You come as Gamork, haven't you?
Exactly, mate. So I
Wow.
thought you were going to come as a troll, but...
But I'm sure you could go for a unicorn as well. I mean, that's pretty... I'm sure you could do that.
Yeah, I'm sure I could. I'm sure I could sort of probably make light work of a unicorn, you know. I'm pretty hungry.
I just want to be clear because, we have to be very clear. This is quite a geeky show. I am specifically My Little Pony, Twilight Sparkle, who is a unicorn pony. Obviously, did not appear in the last unicorn, but I thought it was very relevant, so I went for Twilight Sparkle.
It was very nice. I mean, I don't think I'm not sure Gamork had Rockstar locks, but, you know, you've got to go with what you've got.
I know you're proper rock and roll, so I couldn't imagine you doing something any different. To be fair, I've got the locks today.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very the darkness or something like that today. Anyway, we should probably introduce the chat in a way. This is VHS Film Club. The premise of this show is that the guy and I go back in, probably in my VW Polo with a flux capacitor added, and mine is an 80s Polo, to go back to a video shop to review some of the latest releases of the time. Guys, do you want to introduce yourself in case the viewers don't know who you are?
Yeah, well, I'm not a wolf all the time, only some of the time. But when I'm not doing that, I've written the odd book, 2 novels to date, and some ones that I don't mention. Normally kind of dealing with some sort of mystery, historically adventure things. And when I'm not doing that, I play and teach the piano. And that's what I do. When I'm not being a werewolf, obviously, then, I can't teach or do anything.
And you're an amazing jazz pianist. I was listening to Emma's Dream, which I was given last time I went to visit Guy.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what? I felt like I was in, listening to it, I felt like I was in the poshest, some really posh hotel. Way beyond my real means to stay in. I just was really, really good. It was really, really good. Just me. My name's Alan Meredith. I'm also an author. Written a few books to date, Shimmer, Midas and Lucas. Currently working on a book called Valhalla, which if you're going to Dark Side, Brian, which I know Andy AJ Hill will be there. Guy's usually there. I don't know what he's done. I think he wrecked the joint last time. Yeah. Too much rock and roll lifestyle. So he's not allowed back in the old ship. Apparently, he's like a few shops in Dorchester. He's not allowed into. Yeah. But I'm sure they've forgotten by next time, and he'll be able to come. But yeah, obviously, if you come to Dark Side, you can ask me loads of questions. I'll answer anything, and I'll sign your books for you. I'll give you a hug as well. Yeah, please come to that. There's still tickets available, I believe. If you look at either the Shimmerverse page or Guy's page or Donna's page, Donna Morfitt's page, then you can find that. Even Andy Hill's page, I'm sure he's done some things on his Facebook page on this as well. Okay, so what have you been up to, Guy? Anything interesting?
Well, a few things. I mean, we obviously had a few problems after we both went to Portland that time. The traffic backed up. I was driving to, I was coming to see you, doing strongman stuff. The traffic was backed up for miles, and then when they knew I was coming as well, we were actually going to be together. It was crazy. So I've been dealing with a lot of that kind of stuff. Just general sort of fame, and obviously, people are like, whenever there's a full moon, it's like, where's Guy? And it's like, well, I had to go away, and so it's been pretty hectic, really. What about you?
Yeah, you're right that we did close Portland. That was pretty. We shouldn't have let it be known on Facebook we were going to that, but yeah, that was really cool. So Guy very nicely let me and my family stay at his place, so I could do, and I couldn't believe this came up. There was a strongman contest came up called Odin's Challenge, and I'm writing a book called Valhalla, and a strongman contest comes up called Odin's Challenge. So I had to accept the challenge, and challenge was accepted, And I'd say I beat Odin that day. I think I did everything. I didn't get injured, which was good because I had injuries running into that contest, and yeah, did things which perhaps I shouldn't be doing at that age. But I think there was a few people who defied defied the I don't know what age does to you, and managed to compete in that contest. Anyway,
And,
I thought, go on.
no, I was going to say that this time the women in the Chinese didn't ask us to fight, which was a relief. Like last time, she wanted us to sort of fight over the payment, didn't she?
Yeah, that was
So
weird.
that was,
I don't know if
yeah,
I don't know if it was a slow night in there, but yeah, last time he got a Chinese, not this time, but the time before, we were arguing about who was going to pay. I was insisting on paying, and guy was saying, "Well, no, please don't pay for me." And the woman who worked in the Chinese takeaway wanted us to fight over it, like to have a physical fight to decide who was going to do it.
yeah,
Which is weird.
yeah,
But she didn't ask that again, which is good because it was weird the first time.
yeah.
In fact, I think we got to pick a video shop. I think we should go to that one in Dorchester, which is a couple of doors down from the Chinese takeaway. If you don't mind, if we go to that one,
Oh,
I think it'd be a good one
absolutely,
to do.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
Fine,
Joe, I
yeah,
should say this. I had a dream the other day, and I don't know if I was in Dorchester. I was somewhere in the West Country, but I went to some shop, and in the shop they had all this really old tech, but for sale, like it was brand new. They had like Spectrum +2 computers and video player. I was so excited. I was so excited. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, enough about my dreams because we're getting into weird stuff. So, what did you bring? What 80s snacks did you bring to the party today, Guy?
Well, so I've obviously got a few hunks of raw meat, but I've left them. I don't want to scare the viewers too much, but I don't know if this is going to be reversed, but I got some Poppet, the toffee
Yeah.
flavoured snack that pulls your teeth out. I shouldn't have to worry too much about that. Parma violets, which I've got a weird relationship. I'm going to try one in a minute. I find them a bit odd, but they are an 80s thing, and these are giant ones as well, absolutely enormous. So I'll be eating one of those later in the show, so don't go away, folks. Refreshers. I was lucky enough as a child to have a refresher smelling pencil, so it's bringing back a lot of good memories of that. And finally, some milk bottles as well. So yeah, I'm all tooled up with 80 snacks.
Nice. Do you know where Sam and I go on holiday? There is a ice cream parlour that does Parma Violet ice cream, which I love.
Oh, really?
But I'm sure it's not everyone's taste.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I haven't got as much as you, but I do have savouries and sweets. So, as if people may have seen, because I did go a bit early on this, bit of a spoiler. I've got a packet of mini cheddars.
Oh, nice.
I did actually want beef hula hoops, but I failed to get them. But I thought I'll settle for mini cheddars, and I'll have to put this really close to make it look like it's the proper size. This is a picnic. Now, if I it's hard to scale it with me because I'm big, but like there's a pen, a normal size pen. That's wrong. The picnic should be longer than the pen.
Yeah.
Easily. Well longer than the pen.
I mean, I kind of come from a world where, as you do too, where Snickers were marathons and Starburst were opal fruits, and you know that's the way things should be. And you know they were massively bigger than now. I'm sure they are.
Yeah, a picnic should be it's brown and knobbly and should be that long. So
yes,
and it's not that long. It's a mini picnic, which shouldn't exist. Okay, right then. Maybe we should get down to the meat of the show, seeing as you're a carnivore.
yeah.
Should I? Hang on. Who's going? I've forgotten who's got which one. You got the Last Unicorn, haven't you? Is that right?
Sorry. Yeah, I have.
Which film are you championing today? We got 2 films on the go. I'll just put them here. Which one were you championing today? Was it The Last Unicorn?
Yeah, it was The Last Unicorn. It's just I didn't fancy. I just wanted to be a werewolf, you know. So and we did so much singing and everything that it seemed like werewolf was the way to go. And
Okay.
also, I was like, you didn't play ball. I thought you were going to be a Atreyu, so I was going to actually try and attack you, you know, through the. But obviously, you have to do it, when you're a unicorn instead, which will be, probably more fun, if anything.
Do you know, I almost went as a Treyu, and you probably thought because I've done a lot of these half naked. I did Conan, didn't I, for one of
Yeah.
them? You probably thought I think it was Apollo Creed for one.
I assumed you'd just take any opportunity to be semi-naked with your long flowing hair, a fantastic chiseled body.
Oh dear. So apologies. We kind of role reversed here, but are you happy to kick off with the last unicorn?
Yeah, I am.
Do you want to start off with? Oh, sorry, wrong one. With the last unicorn. would you like to kick us off with a synopsis? Without just a typical warning of not giving the spoilers away, which Guy is very good at.
So I look a little bit. Oh, there we go. I can't actually see. Otherwise, I'm completely blind to my mask. I just look like I'm sort of being eaten by a wolf instead. So last unicorn. Yeah. So basically, it follows the story. It starts off. I'm not going to tell the whole film scene by scene. I promise. It starts off with these two hunters going through a woodland, and they kind of notice that it's magical, and even though it's autumn, the leaves aren't falling. And one says, "There's a unicorn here." And we'll find nothing to hunt. We may as well turn around and go back. And as the last hunter turns, he says, "Take care, unicorn. You're the last one in the world." So the unicorn hears this and thinks, "Oh, where are all my people?" And it sort of starts sort of wondering, "Am I the last unicorn?" And this sort of butterfly, which I'll kind of get back to the butterfly in a minute. But he sings a load. Possibly only I would know this, but he sort of starts talking to the unicorn, but he can only talk in riddles. And he sings all these sort of older jazz standards. And the first bit of trivia I'll do on that is that the writer of the music score, Jimmy Webb, also wrote lots of standards. So Butterfly sort of goes through all these different songs, but anyway, sort of tells her that she kind of basically has to go and find the other unicorns. And it sets her off on this quest into the sort of real world, where she finds that magic doesn't really exist anymore and no one can actually see her as a unicorn. She then gets, I mean, we should maybe go through some of the trauma scenes.
Actually, yeah, because you'll tell the whole film if I don't interrupt you properly.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, I will tell the whole film.
Before we move on, I've forgotten because I can't see them. Any comments that have come in? So we catch up on the comments because it's not just for us. This.
Yeah. Alison asked where we got the costumes. Well, I am a wolf. That's just me. Sam said it's a childhood favourite of mine. Oh, sister, I heard this film so many times. Well, do you know, it's the first time I'd seen it.
Okay.
And when I first started watching it, I must admit, I thought, oh God, this is going to be really whimsical. And I sort of slightly regretted not choosing the Neverending Story. And I couldn't have been more wrong when I started watching it. It absolutely blew me away, this movie, honestly. It was really, really good. And the sort of story behind it and the themes and the music, there's quite a lot of songs in it done by America, wasn't it? Who did Horse with No Name. And I thought it was... like absolutely brilliant, and the budget for it 3.5 million, but it made 6, so it didn't do that well in the box office. But like a lot of films like The Green Mile and Neverending Story, a bit actually, it's kind of gradually garnered a huge sort of following, and since it came out on VHS, there's a big sort of audience for it. I thought it was brilliant, really, really good.
No, I agree. I mean, we've only made the mistake once where we had a kind of a no contest, which was Beverly Hills Cop versus Action Jackson. I think so far we've been very good at picking films that can kind of at least have a contest. So it was released in 1982. Interestingly, it was the same year as the first toy line of My Little Pony was released. Now, they didn't do unicorn ponies at that point, but I think you can imagine any particular little girl at the time watching this film, would absolutely love My Little Ponies as well. I know that's the case with Sam and her sister. So I think that's one of the reasons why This was big in their house. Plus, they were a horse riding house. Who is in this one, Guy?
Okay, just to quickly catch up, Alison
Sorry.
said, this is the quote I love the most. Yeah, I love this one. She'll remember your heart when men are fairy tales in books written by rabbits. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. There's some fantastic. In fact, I've written down. I've got it somewhere. I've written down some of the lines. I thought there's some absolutely beautiful lines in it, but I'll get to that. Mia Farrow plays Amalthea. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. Mia Farrow is kind of sort of more famously associated with Woody. I can't remember his last name now. Woody Allen. That's it.
Not Woody from Toy Story. Woody Allen.
Yeah, yeah. She's in Purple Rose, Kyra, Hannah and the Sisters. So quite a sort of serious actor, really. So she plays the unicorn.
Yes, but she was also in Rosemary's Baby, which is very frightening, even for like a late '60s film. Thinking, well, it's dated. You think, oh, it's dated. That is a very frightening film. I just wanted to point out that was the film I remember it in. Is that one?
Absolutely terrifying. She's brilliant. Alan Arkin as Schmendrick. The word Schmendrick is a Yiddish slur meaning sort of, bumbling fool. Schmendrick the magician. Alan Arkin, he played, his worst film, he played Inspector Clouseau, which was a huge mistake. He did one Inspector Clouseau because I love Peter Sellers. And he didn't do a great job in it, but he's actually done loads of really good films. He was in Catch-22. It feels like my wig's falling off. I'm having an issue. Hang on. Catch-22.
You should have just dyed your hair, Guy, like me. If you'd have dyed it like me, then you wouldn't have had that problem.
No, I know. It's showbiz, right? You've got to carry on, whatever. Jeff Bridges is in it as Prince Lear. Obviously, Jeff Bridges probably doesn't need much introduction, but he was in Tron, Fisher King, lots of brilliant movies. Tammy, then we kind of get to people that you might not know as much. Tammy Grimes as Molly Grew, who she only she was mostly a voice actor. She had a very sort of hoarse, very identifiable voice, but she was absolutely fantastic in it. They all are. Robert Klein as the Butterfly, who's a comedian, well-known comedian. Angela Lansbury as Mummy Fortuna. I mean, we'll get to that. That's just the whole thing. Angela Lansbury, pretty much people, I guess, our generation. Sorry?
Well, I was going to say Angela Lansbury is. I didn't guess to begin with she was Mummy Fortuna. She was so good.
Yeah.
Being like the bad. And for anyone who doesn't know, Angela Lansbury did Murder, She Wrote, so she was like on TV. She probably still is on the TV on the afternoons now.
Yeah.
She was huge. She was a massive '80s person on that TV show, a bit like Peter Falk in Columbo.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, Karen, it's because I can't see you. Sometimes I interrupt you. I apologise.
Oh no, don't worry. No, that's all right. So her and of course Christopher Lee, instantly recognisable voice as King Haggard. Again, Christopher Lee, probably needs no introduction. Trivia on Christopher Lee: he was a fully trained spy in World War II. He's kind of quite a big military sort of person, as well as a singer, and he appeared on heavy metal albums. I did have the names written down. I can't remember them now, but because of his sort of deep and scary voice, and obviously he played Dracula, and he was in all those sort of Hammer films. Brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. So they're the kind of main ones. I don't know if I missed any cameos there that you picked up on, but
the only one I know is Rene Auberjonois, who was the skull, or like the skeleton in the thing. But I think in the book he was just a skull. But I think the animators went a bit further. But I remember him from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I remember him from. But he was also in the film of MASH, 1970. And also I didn't pick up on he was Louis the chef in The Little Mermaid as well, in the original Little Mermaid as well. But that was the only other person that I recognised in the film.
Yeah, I mean he had like a small part in that, but it was absolutely brilliant. He's so like he really brought that character to life. That was scary as well, to be honest. we can get into that.
Okay. it was directed. I got directed by Jules Bass and Arthur Rankin. I don't really know them. Apart from, I think they were the people who produced Thundercats, which kind of makes a bit of sense with
Yeah.
the kind of, because it was like Japanese animation and Thundercats was Japanese animation. So, but I didn't really, everything else I've seen them do, I haven't really seen. It looked kind of cheap cartoon films, I think. This
Yeah.
seemed to be the proper class one. I know they did Lord of the Rings, but probably didn't do a good job of it. But this seemed like the proper class thing that they did.
The author, he got into a big legal wrangle actually with them, and when he found out, he wanted different people to direct it. When he found out it was them, he tried to sort of sue them. He didn't want anything to do with the film because he'd seen Lord of the Rings and he didn't think they'd done a good job. But I mean, they did brilliantly, and also that the team that actually produced and animated it were Japanese, and they then went on to create Studio. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Studio Ghibli, so Spirited Away, and all those sort of amazing kind of manga films. And that's where they started. So, and if you look at the characters, look at the sort of animation, it kind of actually makes sense. When I found that out, I thought, yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, I think actually Peter S. Beagle wrote the book, and he wrote the screenplay for this, which was quite cool. But I think actually, when it was all done and dusted, I think he thought this film was really good. I think he described it as a classic.
Yeah,
which was kind of nice validation. Hi Emily, I just saw Emily's come on board. I didn't think she'd actually come see me dressed like this, but she seemed quite. She didn't seem very happy with me when she came down the stairs and saw me dressed like this.
Yeah. Sorry, Emily. Now you've seen what we're really like. Well, you know what your dad's like, but you know.
Oh, cool. You mentioned the rock band America, which I don't know if the right term is progressive rock. I don't know, because it was more kind of folky, wasn't it? The soundtrack.
Yeah.
I did see that the soundtrack was one of the best-selling albums in West Germany in 1983, which sounds really like I don't know, it's a really trivial fact, but this film was massive in West Germany. I think this is one of the places it was really big, like cinema-wise, whereas it didn't really do well in the cinema in other places.
No.
But I don't know if you know much about that band at all.
I don't know a huge amount. All I know, I think the biggest hit was Horse with No Name, which was a sort of massive hit of the 70s, possibly. I don't know a huge amount about them other than that, but they were quite big, their time, probably to sort of get them on the movie. I guess it was a bit of a coup. But that works really well, those sort of songs in the movie. I don't think it would be the same without them,
Yeah, I think it's a great. I mean, you could probably. I know everyone loves the Never-Ending Story theme, but I think actually the Last Unicorn song is really good as well, and would stand up in a one-to-one with that song as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Christopher Lee offered to sing. He's a really serious guy, Christopher Lee, and he turned up when they were recording the parts with his own. He bought the book and he made his own notes. He wanted to make sure that he got the part absolutely right. And he also offered to sing King Haggard songs, and I think they said no, but I don't know why, because it would have been good. But he was really keen to do that, But he took it. He's like very, very serious about the whole thing and wanted to get everything out the part that he could,
Okay. Just before we go into some of the trivia, there's just a couple of bits I want to have a look at. Did you see any funny bits in this film? Because we usually cover funny bits. Anything that tickled you in this film? Because it's quite a dark film, actually. It's a dark film for a kids' film.
Well, it was. I mean, we go on to that darkness, I guess. The funny bits, one of the worst bits. It's sort of funny in a shocking way. Was the tree? Schmendrick gets tied to this tree, and I was looking at it. Obviously, it says a lot about me. I thought, well, it looks like he's been tied to a giant pair of boobs. And then lo and behold, he accidentally does some magic. The tree comes to life and sings this song, and it's like, it made me laugh, but it was also a bit horrifying considering kids would watch this,
It was being smothered by these kind of big barky boobs. Is the best way to describe it. But yeah. I saw the same thing, but to be honest, that seems to happen in my real life as well. You might have saw my Facebook post where I had 2 giant measuring jugs sent to me. So giant jugs seem to happen even in the real life as well as in
Yeah,
as well as in the films we
I
watch.
suppose it's an occupational hazard, isn't it? But but yeah, so that was it. Made me laugh and also be slightly horrified. I think that was the only
Yeah.
thing that made me laugh in it. To be honest, I can't think of
I-
the sort of forest bandits were cool.
yeah.
Like Captain, was his name Captain Cully? They didn't
Funny.
last. They didn't have a huge part in it, but they
No.
were really ugly. It's like the film. They wanted to really go out of the way. I think they kind of wanted to go the opposite way to the other things, like say sort of Disney, kind of happily ever after. It seems like they really almost turned that on its head, and went the other way with the characters, and which I think is great. Um,
Well, well, I'm assuming that's authentic to the book. I haven't read this book. I have actually read the Neverending Story, but I haven't read this one. But I think for the author to be kind of, basically commend the film, I think it can't be too far away from the source material for that to
yeah,
be true.
yeah.
Um, the only funny bit I remember, and I can't remember exactly what he says, is the pirate cat. Um, it might be actually the bit that the animators threw in, because the pirate cat, and we actually had a cat next door that was kind of a pirate cat. I think it was called Fergus. Sam will remember anyway. She can tell us on the chat. But yeah, there's a bit with the pirate cat. And he's got like an eye patch, and I think there's a bit right at the end. I think he flips the eye patch onto the other eye, so he doesn't actually need the eye patch. It's just completely cosmetic. I think that's the bit that made me laugh. Is that right at the end of his scene, he flips the eye patch, and that wasn't in the script. I think the Japanese animators just threw that in as a little joke,
Yeah.
which I really liked. But that's the only bit really, because it is quite dark and it's not. There's not many laughs in this film. Okay,
No,
well let's get on to some of the dark stuff. So we've got to remember, right? Let's picture this, and this is the same for the other film. We're in the 80s. Imagine where we are now, Guy, I guess, or maybe a couple of years back. We got young kids. We go to the video shop. Right, let's get something for the kids for half term. We have a look round. We pick it. Oh, the Last Unicorn. Look at this. It's a Universal. And Universal means is you can give this to the kids to watch without previously watching it yourself. It's not a PG. And to be fair, in the 80s, my parents let me watch everything up to 18s, wherever age I was. But anyway, let's not get into 80s parenting. but a PG means you watch it first to make a decision whether they watch it or not. This was a Universal, so you should have just been able to put this on the TV with no fear at all you were going to scar your kids. So you already mentioned the big booby tree. Probably the biggest one, I've got this in order of probably when it happens. There is a bit, and I won't say who this happens to, but there is a bit in the film with a harpy where basically the harpy escapes and then goes to town to eat, I guess, his captor. I'll just leave it with that. That is pretty dark for a Universal film. I don't know what you thought about that bit.
I saw that again because I knew it was because I'd read a bit about it, and because you see the harpy, it's not just like, oh yeah, someone's been killed by a harpy. Let's brush over that. You see the harpy sort of land and start feasting, don't you? Basically, its shoulders are hunched, it's going up and down, it's having a right old meal, and then leaves the sort of body. It's absolutely horrendous. I mean, it's like, especially if your kids were like watching it, oh great, this is going to be sort of like, some like Disney thing, and then there's a harpy feasting on someone. I just I couldn't believe it. Like, it would absolutely terrify my kids now if they saw that, and made worse by the fact it's cartoon. So it's like a format they're used to, and yet all this horrendous stuff happens.
Well, I just want to say to Mark, as Mark Pierce has just joined. Anything on the comments, by the way, Guy, before we move on to maybe the next bit of 80s Universal kind of, which wouldn't be in a U nowadays.
Yeah, so let's have a quick look. Yeah, Alison's said when I watch back for most movies from the 80s, they do have some very dark moments, which I missed when I was younger. Yeah, I think some of them you miss. Yeah. And Sam said, this is my childhood with some unicorn emojis. Yeah, Sam said that. We won't say who it was because we're trying not to do spoilers, especially me because I'm terrible at spoilers. But she did have it coming. that character, although everyone knows now because it's in the comments. But yeah, yeah.
Well, you're very good at spoilers. I think that's the point. Um, um, Another thing that jumped out at me was, I mean, you don't see many Universal films with naked women in them, and you know when the unicorn is turned into a human, she's basically naked.
Yeah.
So that is kind of unusual. I don't think the human form's a beautiful thing anyway, but that is very unusual for a Universal film.
Yeah.
There's obviously the talking skull or skeleton.
Yeah.
I mean that could be could be upsetting for a younger audience. And just the Red Bull itself, who is kind of, I guess, the nemesis of the unicorns. Every scene with the Red Bull is very, very intense. I don't know if you picked up on anything else you were thinking, what, my God, that wouldn't make it into a Universal film nowadays.
No, the Red Bull was scary. I think a lot of the dialogue is scary, but I don't know if kids would pick up on it. I mean, for example, like King Haggard just says, "Oh, I found Prince Lear, spelled Lir. I found him as a baby, you know, and he amused me for a while, but now it means nothing." The sort of things like that are a bit more subtly, like maybe undermining for kids as well. That parents can go, "Oh, yeah, I don't really, you know, just don't love you," you know, which is sort of what he says. He doesn't love anything. But
actually, it did remind me something of the book, actually, because I haven't read the book, but I know like the backstory of the skull is that I think that skull was Prince Haggard's head of his guards,
right,
who he killed to see if he'd feel anything about that, because the whole thing with King Haggard, he's trying to get some feeling, isn't he? He feels like divorced from his feelings. But obviously they don't go into that in the thing, but obviously that kind of shows the book must have been darker, because he must have explained in the book that King Haggard killed his head of the guards just on a whim to see if he would feel anything about it.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, Sam said I found King Haggard quite scary. Yeah, he was scary. It's a good character because Sam, you said exactly what I was going to say, but also felt sorry for him because he's so lonely, because he's just someone that never like connected for whatever reason with his feelings, and the only thing that he thinks will make him happy is capturing all these unicorns, but obviously it doesn't. So again, a big sort of metaphor, which another thing I love about the movie, you know, it's full of those sort of metaphors you could sort of learn from when maybe you're a little bit older.
Okay. Let's go into. I know we got a lot of trivia. We got into a little bit of it. Do you want to start on the trivia? I've got a few things, but did you want to start? Maybe give one, and I'll give one.
Yeah. So there's the Ghibli one. Yes, Topcraft they were called, and so they later, went on to become Studio Ghibli. Some trivia about the actors, actually. Jeff Bridges originally offered to do the film for free because the book was his favourite book as a kid.
Yeah.
So he offered to sort of waive his fee. I think I've given the other ones away. Actually, Christopher Lee wanted to do the song, but was sort of declined for that, and turned up with a novel with sort of lots of notes. And the author got into some legal wrangles, and I think he later got into his manager, who was younger than him. He was quite elderly, and his manager sort of mismanaged his finances, and he nearly sort of lost everything, but he did win the battle in the end, but he got into quite a scrape with it. And even now it still rumbles on that there's fan pages that are not associated with Peter S. Beagle, and that's gone. You do some trivia. My hair seems to be falling out. I'm kind of like gradually.
That's what I just realised that. I think you mentioned a few things, so I'm gonna. One thing I want to mention is in an Internet Movie Database poll where we get a lot of our facts from. This ranked number 21 in childhood films that are darker than they seem, which is stating the obvious, I think. It was a bit where Christopher Lee was very much for the authors. Wanted the films to be. I think it was the same for Lord of the Rings. Wanted it to be faithful to the books. And in fact, for this one, when Beagle was on set, Lee wanted Beagle's approval that he got the voice right for the character, which was interesting. Other thing about Christopher Lee, which I thought was really interesting, was that he actually did he did the voice for the German version of the film. I don't know if he was
Oh,
fluent in German. He was obviously fluent enough to be able to do that, which was kind of cool.
yeah.
What else did I have? Oh, there's a bit in the film. It's a bit with Smendrick when he's trying to release. I won't go into too much. He's trying to confuse a captor, so he gives this captor a riddle to keep them busy, so he can save the unicorn. But he does this one. Why is a raven like a writing desk?
That's right.
And that is actually a quote from the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. And Lewis Carroll, there is no answer to that. Lewis Carroll wrote it because it's complete nonsense. So there is no answer to that riddle, but that hasn't stopped people trying to answer that riddle. But it's designed to have no answer.
Yeah.
Else was in here. Let's have a look. I think we've covered quite a lot of this.
Yeah.
Oh, I quite like this one. This kind of goes to its kind of Japanese origins with the animation. So there's a bit where Prince Lear is trying to impress the princess, who is actually the unicorn who's turned into a human. As he goes on all these quests, doing these heroic things to try and win her heart. But there's a bit where he fights a dragon, and apparently I didn't pick this up, but if you listen closely to the dragon, when it roars, it used the same roar that was used in the old Godzilla films,
Oh, okay.
which obviously was a huge Japanese film. But I didn't pick up on that. I really like the fact that this is the thing about Germany. This film did incredibly well in Germany, and it outgrossed the first Star Wars film, which is just amazing. Considering you said how much it made overall, which was pretty insignificant, really. It doubled its money, which is better than not losing it. But compared to some other films you've seen, that's nothing, is it? But the fact it outgrossed Star Wars is brilliant. But okay, I'm out of facts on that one, I'm afraid. I think we might have to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Unless you got something.
All I'd like to do, because I thought there were some absolutely beautiful lines in the film, real proper writer's lines, and I just want to quickly quote a couple, because I just thought they were brilliant. Alison did one. Schmendrick says, even if I were blind, I would know you. Molly Grews is the best one. Where were you? She gets really unhappy and upset that she's seen a unicorn like later in life, when she's sort of quite she's been with all these bandits, and life's not that good for her. And she says, where were you when I was young? How dare you come to me? Now I'm this. There's some brilliant lines in it that again just really stand out as fantastic lines that set it for me. I just thought, Christ, that really sets it apart from so many other things, But I just love that. If I were blind, I would know you. Just such good lines, And sorry, I just had to say a couple.
No, I agree to. Interestingly, I didn't do so much in The Last Unicorn, but I did pick out a few lines from The Never-Ending Story with the same kind of theme. But I'll come back to that once we get into that. Anything from the Peeps before we move on to The Never-Ending Story?
So yes, Sam said I found King Haggard quite scary. I also felt sorry for him. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the thing with the characters; they're not just like the hero. The hero's really flawed. Everyone sort of has these sort of things they're dealing with, which is it's opposite to Disney, isn't it? But I sort of love that. Sam says there are so many beautiful lines in that film. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the lines are heartfelt. They're absolutely fantastic. If I were blind, I would know you. Sort of things that, as a writer, make you want to go and sit down and write something that good.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, if you think about the end of the film, obviously the romance between Lear and Amalthea, that comes to naught. Yeah. So Lear hasn't got that anymore. Yeah. And even the thing with with the unicorn, I think she says, I'm the only unicorn that's going to live with regret. I'm going to live forever with regret. Yeah. And what a terrible burden that is. And that's almost like the last lines of the film. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. There's no, it's not Disney.
No.
Not Disney.
No, if it was Disney, everyone would have been happy, but it doesn't do that at all. It's great. If upset.
There's stuff in Germany, and interestingly, this is where this film was made. But German film, probably one of the at the time, it must have been the biggest German film of all time.
Yeah.
The Never-Ending Story, and this is the one I've got. I thought I'd end up with The Last Unicorn actually, but a guy wanted that one, so I've got this one. Okay, so the synopsis for this one: this young boy called Bastian or Sebastian, Bastian, I think he's called in the film. Maybe I mistyped that actually. He's Bastian in the film. He steals this special book called The Never-Ending Story, which the owner of the book in the bookstore describes is not a safe book.
Yeah.
And when you watch the film, you know exactly what that means. There was a couple of sequels to this film. Actually, the writer of this film, Michael Ender, was very unhappy about this film. Again, similar to Beagle, but he didn't come round. He was still livid. I think he did legal cases to try and stop the film. I think he started protests. Interestingly, he got involved with the sequels, but they, by all accounts, and I haven't seen them, were not good films. So even with his, even with him being more directly involved, this ended up in a poorer quality films. Released in 1984, another certification U. So just want to underline again, this is a film you should have been able to put in the video recorder and just let the kids watch. But clearly, we'll get into some reasons why that was a very bad idea. It cost, and I might have my numbers wrong here, it cost 27 million, so at the time it was the most expensive film ever produced in Germany, and the most expensive film produced outside of the United States and Soviet Union at the time. Now, I don't know if you got the same facts here, but I had the facts that this actually made a loss, which kind of makes sense if it was wickedly expensive. It would have been quite hard to make the money back, because 27 million then would be 27 million today. So I've got it made 20 million. I don't know if you had the same number. And I'm talking about this is kind of as a film, not what kind of went on DVD or what's a DVD on VHS afterwards. just on the cinema stuff.
Yeah. It did poorly. It's well, like The Green Mile is a good example. It's just one that it captured people's imaginations like after the fact. And at the time, it did well in Germany, didn't it? I think, but nowhere else.
Did really well in Germany. Did really well in Germany, but they obviously know their stuff because they like The Last Unicorn as well.
Yeah.
So who was in it? A lot of child actors in this one. So Noah Hathaway, and I think in the early 80s, especially if you grew up in the US, you'd have known Noah Hathaway. I think he was in everything. He was in every advert, everything. He was Atreyu, who's the main hero of the story. Interesting, I really like this. He is Harry Potter Jr. in the 1986 film Troll. And we've mentioned this film before because Harry Potter is a very famous name, but he's also a magical character in an 80s film. I'm just going to scratch my chin here. So interesting. I haven't seen the film Troll, to be honest, but he is Harry Potter before the Harry Potter everyone else would recognise. But I think we said before about William Shakespeare. None of his stories were original. It's just the way you tell them, isn't it? But interesting, Harry Potter, magical character in a mid-80s film.
Yeah. Just
scratch my chin a little bit. He was also in the original Battlestar Galactica, which I loved, with Dirk Benedict, who was also in the A-Team. Really good.
Yeah.
Barrett Oliver was Bastian, another face from the 80s you would really recognise, child actor. He's in a film called Daryl, which I loved, 1995. That was the one where he was like, I can't remember. I think he was like had a computer for a brain, but he was super, super intelligent. They decided to get him fostered to see how he'd do in the real world. That was amazing. I remember rewatching that loads. And also, he really big in 85. 84, 85, and he was also in Cocoon as well, which was a massive film. I'm going to mention, he was the reader of the story, of this unsafe story, so he's kind of the character who's not based in Fantasia. I'm mentioning the child actress. It's interesting because she's not really that known apart from this film, called Tammy Stronach, who's the Empress. And one of the reasons why she's not that well known is, apart from this film, is because her parents stopped her from being a child actress after doing this film. They thought it'd be really bad for her, and maybe they're right actually, because Noah Hathaway seems quite, for lots of different reasons, seems he took a lot of problems into adult life being a child actor. So it looks like they made the right call, to be honest. So she never was in any more films. They basically said you can do some films when you get to your 18th birthday and you can choose for yourself. And I think only recently she's done a film, actually, after a long time. I can't remember what it's called, actually. Is it The Last Dance? Something with something. I can't remember. I haven't seen it. But from seeing them together, Tammy seems a whole lot more happier with her life than potentially Noah, who seems to have a lot of a lot of maybe demons in his past, I guess is the best way of describing it. So I think maybe Tammy's parents did the right thing, actually, to be honest. From what I can see.
Yeah, quite a lot of child actors at that time didn't do too well. No. I guess there wasn't the same safeguarding sort of things, and it's a completely different world. I don't think they were really. It's just you're an actor, get out there and do it, sort of thing. But quite a few of them, like there's a lad who, one of our ones from this country, Kez, really depressing film, but he's a really brilliant actor, and he completely gave it up. He works in a garage, as far as I know. He just utterly stopped, and quite a few did, or got into problems later. So yeah, probably the right call, as you say.
Yeah, definitely. Other people, so these are more of the actually, there's another child one, a guy called Chris Eastman, who you probably don't know, but he played a bully, but he kind of got typecast. He was a bully in the TV version of Stephen King's It as well. And then some of the I guess some of the adult actors, a guy called Gerald McRaney, and I really recognised it. This is Bastian's dad, and I couldn't pick. First of all, I thought he was Howard Stark in the Iron Man films, but he wasn't. He is just really obliquely. He is General Morrison in the 2010 film of the A-Team. So I did recognise it, and I like that film. I know lots of people didn't, but I did like that film, so that's where I recognised him from.
Yeah.
And then another person that people will really recognise is a guy called Deep Roys, which is a brilliant name, as Teeny Weeny. And he was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Apparently, he was uncredited as Yoda in Empire Strikes Back. He's in Big Fish. I love that film called Big Fish with Ewan McGregor. He's in that film as well. Really, really good. So those are the actors I know. Is anyone else that you would pick out in that film?
Well, there's a guy that did the voices, and he did the voices for Falcor, Gamork, and one that I've written down. And the Rock Biter. That's right. And there's a guy called Alan Oppenheimer.
He did Teeny Weeny as well, much to Deep Roy's disgust.
Yeah,
he did, because he overdone Teeny Weeny as well.
Yeah, he sort of did basically every voice. But he's third cousin to slightly more famous Robert Oppenheimer, who father of the atom bomb. Yeah, so he's actually a cousin of his. Wow. But done lots of stuff in Toy Story, and interestingly also He-Man. He then went on to do the voices of the Master of the Universe, Skeletor, and that. So he had a busy
Skeletor. He added he added, actually, just on an aside, he added Skeletor's laugh. That really iconic Skeletor's laugh. That was him. Right. He introduced that. That wasn't there. They thought, but he introduced that laugh. So he's a very good voice actor.
Fantastic. Yeah. And also that what was his name? Gerald, the A-Team guy. He was in another 80s
Gerald McRaney.
Yeah, that's right. He was in one called Major Dad. I don't know if you sort of ever saw that, but
no, I haven't seen that.
That was quite a big one. And he was like a crusty sort of played military people, but that was a big one. Yeah, he was in that. But yeah, that was cool. I don't think I got anyone else, actually. I think they were the sort of main ones. One of ours, she was also in Willow, was in it, and I can't remember her name now. Patricia Hayes.
Or the witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
She was the White Witch in Willow, and she was one of the people at the Southern Oracle. Yeah, she was in it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you're right. I should have picked up on that. I know you're talking about the two people who are researching the Southern Oracle. She's she's the wife. Yes, yeah. Actually, that's a good call, actually. And the thing on Gerald was interesting because he's very stern. So I could see why he would play a lot of military characters, because he has got real sternness about him. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. I'm going to get hair in my mouth. I don't want that. Yeah, it was written by, well, the screenplay was Wolfgang Petersen, who was the director, Herman Wiegel, and Michael Ender, who also wrote the book. Wolfgang Petersen was the director, and everyone would know him for, and I haven't actually seen this film, but he did Das Boot in 1981, which really put German cinema back on the map. So that was a big instant success. And interestingly, the submarine in Das Boot was also the submarine in Raiders of the Lost Ark, because Wolfgang Petersen and Steven Spielberg were friends. So it's the same U-boat. Music for the German release, this was done exclusively by a guy called Klaus Doldinger. But for everyone else, for us, for the international release, that was completely reworked by Giorgio Moroder for the international release, and obviously the song that we sang. So if you watch the German version, you don't have that Lamal song at the beginning at all.
Right. Yeah.
That is just for us in the international version.
Right.
Okay. What did you? Anything on the comments, by the way, before I carry on?
No, it's still with nothing yet.
Okay.
They're
cool.
gathering.
They're gathering their comments.
Yeah.
What did you think about the special effects on this one?
I thought they were brilliant. There's some sort of ones that are kind of like really low tech, like the clouds at the beginning that you see as it sort of rolls up. It's all done by sort of like ink in oil and water, like a really, really simple effect, but it looks absolutely beautiful. And I like looking at it now, I think it still looks really good. As I watched it the other night, and it's kind of still just different lighting and just ink and oil, and that was it. They just messed about with it. They're pretty cool, really. Obviously, I like Falcor. He's a tiny bit, looking at him now, I guess he does look a bit puppet-like. He sort of looks a bit like a sort of carnival, like float sort of head. But I love the character sort of so much that, I don't care.
I think with him, and same with Gamork, I thought they were really good, but I think they moved the noses too much. The noses were moving too much to be natural. That was my only comment, being ultra critical, which I don't like to be, but yeah, I'd say they could just tone down the nose moving a bit. I think if I'd have been on set, I'd be like, could you tone down the nose a bit? But yeah, I thought they were really good.
Yeah, I think the one they got it most right with was the ancient mauler, the sort of ancient turtle. That's quite scary, actually, when you first see him. It's like, but I think they got that bang on with him. It didn't look so puppet like. But what Alison says, what best quotes in the movie?
I've got those. I've got my favourites. If I go to them, and it's similar to the last unicorn, really. There's a bit where the rock biter right at the end, where he's about to be consumed by the nothing, and he kind of admits that he wasn't able to save his friends, and he's looking at his hands, and he's like, and they're the hands that fail to hold on to his friends, and nothing kind of sucked them away. And he's going, they look like good, strong hands, don't they? And he's just kind of contemplating that as he's about to be sucked into oblivion himself, and he's kind of resigned to that fate. He's not going to run anymore. But I really like that. I thought it was a real sad comment, I guess. He's like thinking all his life he thought he had these really, really strong hands. There's nothing he couldn't do. And like at this point, he was like, he said he realised that as big as he was, his power was nothing compared to the nothing. So I really like that. He says it a couple of times. They look like good, strong hands, don't they? And I really like that. And maybe the other one that goes back to the origins of the book, which is a bit like Tolkien, who would, there's a lot of metaphors with World War One. There was, I think, in the original book with Michael Ender, there was a lot of metaphors with World War Two. But there's a thing Gamork says, and I hope I've got this. I don't know if I got the quote exactly right, but he says, "People with no hope are easier to control." Yeah, which I really liked as well. Very, very poignant comment. Very, very political, but at the same time, very, very true as well. Yeah. It's really good. I probably lengthen that to scared people, because I know there's a lot on kind of what's it called, like group psychology, that if you can make a group of people scared, they're easy to control, but because they use a different part of their brain, they don't use the rational part of their brain, they use the fight or flight part of their brain. So
Yeah.
very similar to that. If you can keep people scared, you can predict their reaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
have you got any, or has Alison got any?
Sorry?
Have you got any favourite lines, or has Alison got any favourite lines?
No, you've done exactly the same one. I think those two lines were brilliant. That they would be my ones. The strong hands one. It's just kind of again, it's a sort of a metaphor for the whole thing, isn't it? Because the nothing is like people losing their dreams, and all their sort of hopes and dreams. A bit like Last Unicorn, I suppose. No one's able to see magic anymore. And it's the same. People have sort of stopped dreaming, and then once they stop dreaming, once you stop using your imagination, you're in big trouble, basically. So yeah, I think that they're absolutely brilliant lines.
Yeah, so yeah, I think with the special effects, the green screen was really good. The makeup was really good. There's obviously something Hob, isn't it? The guy who rides the bat. His makeup was very good. The sets are really good. I think that swamp became its own ecosystem. I think it was bugs starting to live it and stuff, but it looked really good.
Yeah.
And then the thing, I saw a film. There's a thing you can watch. I can't remember. I think it's on Foursome, which is like awesome, but Foursome. Called Life After the Never Ending Story. Noah Hathaway was saying he used 10 gallons of lube for Mauler sneezing at him when he was on the tree, which I really liked. And I really like this comment. I said, where the hell do you buy 10 gallons of lube? What kind of place sells lube in that kind of quantity? Which really made me laugh.
Yeah.
Actually, seamlessly, going on to things that made you laugh, was there any lines in this film or any bits of this film that made you laugh?
Let's have a think. I like it. Yeah, I like the sort of bullies in it getting there. You have to laugh at them when they sort of end up. Hang on, Alison just come up. You must let what happens happen. Everything must be equal in your eyes, good and evil, beautiful, ugly, foolish, and wise. Oh, that's cool. Where's that from? Is that from this film? I don't recognise
it at
all.
I don't. No, I didn't pick up on that. But yeah, it probably is in the film. There's a lot in this film, so it probably is in this film. Maybe Alison can place it in the film first.
It's cool. I can't think of any specific laughs thinking back, and I know the film quite well. I've sort of watched it for ages. I like the racing snail, and the whole. But it just makes me smile when it says, "Oh, we can't even wait for racing snail," and then it just sort of disappears. It's just magical. It's so cool. And the rock biter sort of thinking that they've chosen their camp because of the granite and quartz combo in the rocks.
No, proper 80s, I guess, creativity, which I love. No, the bits I found really funny were the bits with those two characters, that wife and husband at the Southern Oracle. Yeah. They were their relationship was really funny. I think there's a bit where the wife like mocks her husband, where she kind of repeats scientific speciality. She does an impression of him, which I liked. And then just that line, I think there's a bit where they want to go up to the it would be a telescope, really. It's kind of done with crystals, but it's like a telescope. And he's like, I think he goes, to the winch, wench. and she's like doing all the manual work to get him up. She's got to do it by hand to winch him up. But I love that. To the winch, wench. There's those two bits. Their relationship, where they kind of like had like I guess like mini digs at each other, not in a really nasty way, but kind of they've obviously been husband and wife for quite some time. It was kind of these kind of like jokey digs at each other. Yeah.
She says there's no call like an old call as well, doesn't she? That was really cool. I just remember that one. But yeah, it's good. It's a bit like in the Billy Crystal one, isn't it? When he's still bringing them back to life. It's the same sort of thing. It just works really well. And it's probably a point in the film where you need a tiny bit of light relief.
Yes. Yeah, it actually... I think The Last Unicorn has got virtually nothing. At least this one had a little bit, and I think you need it. But I mean, the way I write some of my books have some very dark places on there, and actually, I purposely try and if I have a chapter that's really really dark, I try and actually have some levity in the next chapter, because I think it's hard if it's all in that dark space. And then to be honest, even in life, when when things are kind of tough and stuff, we get through it through humour.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's important to have that. It reflects life, I think. Okay, so 80s Universal. What in this film would have you concerned about watching, having your kids watch this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think right from the start, probably the scariest bit is the wolf again chasing through.
Yeah.
I like that you see it from his perspective as well. When he sort of first
Yeah.
comes out of the cave and he starts going through the forest. Absolutely terrifying. The wolf Gamork is really, I mean, he's genuinely really scary. You don't really see that much of him. Just those sort of green eyes that sort of open, which is nice for kids when they're lying in the dark. They can obviously imagine those eyes opening. That's one of the traumatizing. Obviously, then we can talk about the horse scene. Absolutely. I mean, did you have a special feature on that? Because I don't want to jump in on it if you wanted to talk about
back to it again. Because in fact, it was similar to, I guess, Poltergeist in some ways. It's Sam wouldn't watch a film because of that scene. Neither would my son. Yeah. So once you've seen it once, most people won't watch a film again. So it's a very it's a very if you've not seen it, there is a bit in the film, a very harrowing scene where a horse is essentially kind of sinking into a swamp, a bit like quicksand. But yeah, that's a very, very powerful scene. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily want you wouldn't want young kids watching that necessarily. Not at least there's some support or some explanation around it anyway.
I think apparently Noah Hathaway. No, I was going to say on that, Noah Hathaway, when he does Comic Cons and he talks about Neverending Story, he puts out a bucket of dollar bills and he says to people, anyone can take one that's been traumatized by the horse scene, and most people take one. It made me cry. I wouldn't watch it. We watched it together, and she just wouldn't watch it. And I thought, no, I've got to do this for the people. I've got to do this for the fans, of our show. And it just made me cry. To be honest, it was just as traumatic. I think it's because if you sort of lost pets, I don't know. I think one of the things with it is that if you lost a pet as a kid, and it's like they're gradually giving up and sinking into this thing. It's a real metaphor. That's maybe why it's so upsetting. I don't know, but it's bad. Yeah. It was. Yeah, I thought it's not going to get me down. I've seen the film loads of times. So.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else in this kind of category of things that you wouldn't expect to see in a Universal film?
Giant turtle, quite scary. As well.
Oh, yeah.
The obviously the battle with the wolf. You sort of see him get stabbed, don't you?
It's blood, isn't it? There's quite a lot of blood. I was like, wow, because blood's I think is a criteria now on films to make them the rating. The rating would be higher. So Gamork's blood, the tray was covered in his blood.
Yeah.
After I wouldn't say anymore. Spoilers again.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. The werewolf gets it. I think that's. I mean, I guess the rest of it is fine, isn't it? There's not too much. Obviously, just general everyone being sucked into a massive pit of despair and nothingness. I guess is a bit upsetting.
It's scary, isn't it? Yeah. But nothing's going to get you, and it's inevitable. And it doesn't matter how big you are or how strong you are; it's still going to get you.
No.
That's a scary thought. I mean, I didn't know how to have that on the list, but yeah, definitely.
It's a windy day. I mean, I say to the kids now, it's a windy day. The nothing, it's coming. That's it. Keep them in line.
Good luck with your sleepless nights, Guy. The other two I had, which and I guess similar a bit to Star Wars, really, A New Hope. You see Luke's aunt and uncle been lasered, and they're just kind of smoking corpses on the floor. There's a bit with the first knight who tries to get through the Southern Oracle, and as he gets close to him, you realise he's been charboiled in his knight suit, and you have a really good view of that.
Yeah.
which is pretty intense. And again, I don't know what it is. It might be us, Guy. I don't know, or it could be that just films in general. The Sphinxes at the Southern Oracle do have big boobs.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I know.
They do have
I've
big
noticed
naked
that.
boobs. So again, not usual in a children's film.
No,
Okay,
they are
on to
quite.
go on, Guy.
No, no, no. I mean, I was going to say they're quite well sculpted as well. They're not, not that I've watched it
Oh,
so many times. But
no, dear. Okay, so on to the interesting bits or the trivia bits. Have you got something onto the share first? I've got a few here.
no, go on, you do yours.
Okay. So again, on the same poll with Internet Movie Database, this film featured number 10 on films that are darker than they seem. So this was kind of voted as probably darker than The Last Unicorn. I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure whether whether the people of Internet Movie Database are right on that. I think that probably reflects that the Neverending Story is more popular than is darker necessarily. I like the fact the orin, which is the symbol of never-ending story, so it's the snake eating itself, so a symbol of infinity. You're just going round and round. That orin is on display in Steven Spielberg's office.
Right.
So Steven Spielberg and Wolfgang Petersen were friends. Wolfgang Petersen, unfortunately, has died now, but they were friends when they were living. Mentioned about Michael Ende being not a fan of the film. I think probably the crux that really, really kind of finished it was the end of the film, where Bastian brings Falkor into the real world, and in Michael Ende's universe, or the universe of the Neverending Story, that would never happen.
Yeah.
Everything happens within the confines of Fantasia. So I think that was one big thing he had a massive issue with.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the title song, which we all know, and I remember being big in the 80s, it was obviously good in the UK, did really crap in the US, which is kind of interesting. Did well in the US afterwards, so when it came out on VHS, on video and on cable, then it actually came back and did well in the charts, and then came back in the charts again when it was used in Stranger Things in 2016. Which is brilliant. If you've not seen that bit in Stranger Things, it is so good. It's have you seen it?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, if you've not seen Stranger Things, I recommend you go watch it. But there's a bit in that series. It's near the end of the series where the main characters are being chased by this monster from the Upside Down, and there's essential bit of information they need. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's the sort of thing you would just Google now, or whatever search engine you like, go DuckGo, whatever it is. But obviously they can't do it. It's in the 80s and they're on the move. So the one of the main characters, Dustin, the only way they can find this information out, he's got a very, very super intelligent girlfriend. So they contact her like on a CB radio to ask this information, but they can't explain why, because she'd never believe the reason why they need to know this information. They're being chased by this monster. But she won't tell him unless he sings the song which is special between the two of them, which they've sung together, The Neverending Story, the theme from The Neverending Story. So he's having to sing this to the radio while being chased by a monster with all his friends in the car. And she'll only do it after they sing the song together. And it's so good because it's such a tense scene, but then it's broken up by this real bit of humour. It is so good. It is really, really good, but it's brilliant. And obviously it went back into, sold a lot more once it was in Stranger Things. A bit like Running Up That Hill song as well, which obviously was in that as well. What else was there? Atreyu was too pasty to play that character, so they made him go to a tanning salon to darken his skin for the film, which I didn't pick up on. But yeah, they made him go to the tanning salon because they thought that character would have been maybe more outdoors, would have had more sun on his back. That pivotal scene with Artex, the Atreyu's horse. That took 3 weeks to film, and I know the swamp started to come alive, his own ecosystem with loads of bugs and stuff in it. What else was there? Oh, this is interesting, and we see a lot about this in the Life After the Never Ending Story in that documentary. Noah Hathaway was really severely injured by a horse in the rehearsals of that film.
Right.
It wasn't a stage horse, and it kind of got spooked,
Right.
and it threw him. And I think he stepped on Noah,
Right.
and Noah was in traction, and then they had to go on and do the rest of the film. So he was in a lot of pain. And one thing he said, which was amazing, that he still had major problems with his back up until only a few years ago.
Right.
I mean, a couple, like two or three, maybe 5 years ago, when he had surgery to correct his back. So he lived with the pain from that film right from that age. How old was he in that film? About 10, 11? Up to
he was 11.
in his, 40s, late 40s, maybe early 50s.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But only just corrected with surgery, only just. So it's amazing. And he's very derogatory about the health and safety standards.
Yeah,
on those films.
That's again, it's 80s, isn't it? Just climb up there. What are you worried about? It'll be fine. But yeah, probably not.
Yeah. I quite like this one. I don't know if you noticed, like the Empress has got a very, very distinctive kind of voice.
Yeah.
Almost kind of lisping.
Yeah.
The reason for that was Tammy Stronach. At the time, she was at the time where she was losing her teeth, because it's natural at that age as a child to lose teeth. But she's supposed to be kind of a kind of infinite being who's lived forever, and you're not supposed to have missing teeth. So they had to give her like a plate to replace the missing teeth. So it gave her a really lispy voice, which you can actually hear when you watch the film. What else was there? Oh, Falcor's name in the German book in Germany, in original German, is Fucker.
Yeah.
So I think there was a bit of a conversation about the international release why Fucker wasn't gonna work. I think originally he was like, well, there's nothing wrong with that name. Well, why can't we use Fucker in there? And then I think they finally got it. And went, oh, and then that's why the Luck Dragon then ended up being called Falcor. What else was there? Sorry, did you want to say something, Guy?
No. I said that's great. No, go on.
Any comments, by the way? Because I know I've talked for a little bit.
No, I think I think everyone's just stunned by. I think our towering intellect. They've just gone. We've left them with nothing. Nothing.
This show's gone too long. Probably they're probably asleep.
Yeah.
The bit where Atreyu is saved from the swamp of sadness by Falcor, that was actually suggested by Steven Spielberg, who was visiting at the time. He said there needed to be some sort of some sort of a scene like that would be nice, would be really, really good to the story. So he suggested that bit, and Jan Peterson really respected Steven Spielberg and put it in and made it part of the film.
Right.
What else was there? Oh, Wolfgang Peterson, the director. He actually gave Barrett Oliver, who played Bastian, the option to choose his own name for the Empress. So as the reader of the Never-Ending Story. And that book, by the way, is real. I mean, like, the whole story is written. It's not a prop. It is a prop, but the whole story of the Never-Ending Story is actually in that book. It is all in there. Yeah. So it's not just a prop. It is the whole story has been written in it. But he actually said that he could choose. And Barrett Oliver took it really seriously, went off and thought about it and really deliberated. And in the end, he was, no, I think I should call her by her the name that she is in the book. Yeah. She spent ages thinking about it and came out, I'm just going to do it as the book. And then the only other thing, I haven't got it on this list. I'm going to get rid of my list now, which I thought was cool. There's a bit where Bastian's originally running away from the bullies, before he gets in the bookstore. He runs in the street and there's a guy who kind of drops his coffee in the street, if you remember that. That was actually Wolfgang Peterson. That was the director. So that was his little cameo in the film. Okay, so I've run out of facts. Did you have any facts, or did the peeps have any facts?
I don't know if anyone's got any facts. That I think you covered an awesome amount. They tried to make Noah Hathaway green for the role, and then he said it just looked like he was covered in fungus, so they sort of left that one alone. Atreyu, was a Greek. I'm not sure it's exactly that word, but Atre something was a Greek god, and it was also the same name that's based on House Atreides in Dune. So sort of trying to sort of bring a bit of like mythology into it. I think that there's one other. I think Noah Hathaway was given the horse after the film as a sort of thank you, which again is another sort of 80s thing, isn't it? Have a horse, you know. It doesn't matter if you live in an apartment or whatever. So he was given that horse, and then due to sort of wrangles of trying to get it out of Germany, he had to leave it in the end. But he did have a horse for a while, which is sort of pretty nice.
He actually gave it to the horse trainer. I think he actually gave it to the horse trainer in the film.
Oh,
I think he gave it as a gift to that person. So yeah,
yeah,
it stayed with the trainer, I think.
There's a popular myth sort of circulating that the horse actually died in the film, but it's not true. He was a sort of trained horse, and he was perfectly fine. It didn't look like he was having a great time. I think when horses do that thing with their teeth, it does mean they're scared. But
I think he was scared. I don't think he'd be allowed to do now. So he was on almost like a platform underneath, and the director was in control of it, was moving the horse down. But yeah, I think the horse was genuinely scared, so I don't think they would be allowed, quite rightly, to do that scene as it was. But again, it was the 80s. As wonderful as that time was, there were some things which shouldn't have happened, and that was probably one of those things.
No, exactly. And he would have seemed like a human also acting, but being really distressed. So he would have thought, God, there's something really bad going on here, So it's awful,
Definitely.
But yeah. It was a great film, I love it.
Okay, so we got to decide now. So I'm hoping there's some peeps can help us decide. Two really good films, really deep films, I think, based on books. And I've read The Never-Ending Story. I wish I'd read it as a kid, though, because I did read it as an adult. Yeah. And maybe it got lost a little bit in the translation, but it was just too simple. The language was too simple. I felt like I was reading a age range that was well below me, if that made sense.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a disappointment reading it as an adult. I wish I'd read it as a kid. I might have more nostalgia about it, but I haven't read the Peter S. Beagle, The Last Unicorn, though. But both based on really good books. And so really, really good. So you sticking with your original choice? Are you sticking with The Last Unicorn, or have I convinced you to the dark side?
No, I'm going to stick with The Last Unicorn, just because I think it's so dark and unrelenting. And I love The Never-Ending Story. I mean, I've watched it since I was a kid. I watch it again and again forevermore. But I think for the purposes of this, having said, so I've never seen The Last Unicorn. It was only when Sam mentioned it, But I think the themes come up as so poignant. Whereas the Never-Ending Story ends in a good way, which is cool. The Last Unicorn doesn't do that. It goes on a very different path, and so for me, it's the winner in my eyes.
Okay. So I'm hoping there's some people still online, because we need someone to separate us, Guy. Is there any comments coming through?
It's getting ugly. No, there is. I don't know if there is. I've got a comment. The last comment I've got is from Alison. So I don't know what we're going to do.
Okay, I think if we're not going to get any more comments now, I reckon we leave it and we allow people to comment afterwards, and we'll declare a winner afterwards.
Yeah.
So I've got a running tally of one each. So if whether you comment on this video or after this video, if Sam, Emily, Alison, Mark, Andy Hill, if all of you could please let us know your winner, whichever way, and we can announce that later. Because I don't think either should move. I think in some respects maybe it is a dead heat, but it'd be good to see what people think. I think most people have. I think it might come down to a popular vote in that just more people have seen The Never-Ending Story, possibly. And I do suspect that's why it was higher on that list of dark 80s kids films. But let's see. Let's give her an opportunity to comment on this.
Yeah.
But I think we've probably done too thorough a job, because we've lost our audience. They've kind of fallen asleep now on their phones, so we've gone too geeky.
Yeah, it's too geeky. Yeah. Too many facts. But that's why we're here. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's a shame I couldn't see you on camera today. I don't know. I don't know why. But obviously you can't see me on camera either. But thank you very much for joining me on this little adventure. We'll probably do another one. I'll give some feedback on Dark Side of Brian next time as well.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. I'm going proper professional. I bought my first book stand, so I was trying to pick it. I was trying to pick the right size acrylic book stand. So I will have that ready for the event. Because I saw everyone else did that. First time I did a a panel and felt very amateurish that I didn't have one of those. But I've got one now. Oh, we'll have one by tomorrow, so I'll have that ready, and I'll be ready with a pen, and I'll be ready with hugs for anyone else to hug. I probably won't be dressed like this. I don't think. Well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll reconsider it.
It's Brighton. You'll be fine. But yeah, that's good. Well, best of luck with all that, and that's going to be awesome. The last one I did was great. It was such good fun. I think that's where we met. Possibly, no, it was the second
yes,
time we met.
No, we talked afterwards. I like what you said in your panel, and we made contact afterwards because you gave a really cool answer to a question about what you felt about whether you wanted to win this award or another, and I think you gave an answer about actually what really matters is getting feedback from people who read my books, and the awards are not so interesting to me than individual feedback. And I kind of really related to that because I've had letters from people, especially when I did more of the kids stories. The first two books were suitable for kids. When you got a letter from a child saying how much they enjoyed your book, that meant so much. And I've kept all of those, so I really resonated with what you said on that.
Yeah, it's brilliant when you get that, isn't it? And people, because we live in these worlds, and when you realise someone else has lived in that world as well. I got one. I can't remember which one it was for. I think it's The Apprentice Steve. And she said, I can't remember exactly. I'm paraphrasing, but basically that she didn't cook anyone's dinner because she was reading the book, and she said I read it in 2 sittings, and my husband and kids went hungry because I was still reading it. And it's just great that because that's what you want to do, isn't it? You live in that world, you think it's cool, and you want other people to live in that world and think it's cool as well.
Yeah, definitely. One of my aims is I want people. I feel something when I write my books, whether it's joy or sadness or anger. I want other people to feel so. If people can read my books and feel something, if they're like moved to tears by bits in my books, that means a huge amount. It means I've really done a good job of conveying the emotion of that. Really caring about the characters I've written, so that means a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's let the people decide.
Yeah.
Let's sign off now. I need to dye my hair ready for. I don't think tomorrow it's going to be acceptable if I have hair this colour, so I might have to dye it tonight. So I need to get in the bathroom and get out some brown hair dye.
Yeah.
To get back to its original. but thank you very much, Gamork, for joining me on this and not rampaging it or ruining it, because Gamork's all about bringing things to a cataclysmic end. So thank you very much for not doing that.
Well, the night's still young,
Okay. All right. Cheers, Go. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure, mate. Take care.
Okay. Cheers, all. Thanks. Bye.